Guys, as y'all know, I spent the last year of my life trying to get out of debt, and I'm really trying to make a few videos to highlight on that because I believe that it has been a complete game changer for us. I've really seen the importance of being debt-free so that your money is not tied up going to all those minimum monthly payments, and then it feels like you can never get ahead and you're just in this vicious cycle. So once I realized the importance of getting out of debt, I really decided to put all my effort into that. And in the last video, I explained to you guys 9 different things that I quit spending money on while I was focusing on getting out of debt. And I got a really good comment on that video that said they would be interested to know what areas Kaidale cut out some of his wants or cut back on some of his wants to help towards the family goal of getting out of debt and getting in a better financial situation. So I thought it would be fun to highlight some areas in Kaidale's life specifically that he has cut back on or made some adjustments to help out in the grand scheme of saving money so we can pay off our debt, which we have now accomplished, but I'm just kind of going back in time to explain our process. Okay, so first thing is first, Kaidale went through a major phase where he was obsessed with coloring, markers, crayons, pens, different coloring books, notebooks, drawing pads, the whole 9 yards. He just loved to go to Walmart and browse the Crayola section and just see what kind of new cool markers they had. But those can be upwards to like $10, $15 for a pack of markers, depending on, you know, how fancy you want to get, which for him, that was part of it, was just seeing like what new items they had. And so each time we would go to Walmart, it felt like we were spending like $15 or more on some of his art supplies, which is something that he's interested in, and it's a passion of his that I want to support. So instead of just telling him, no, we can't get markers today, the mentality that we kind of shifted to was, instead of going to Walmart for art supplies, we would go to the dollar store for art supplies. Because believe it or not, me and Kiddo love the dollar store, and they have a pretty big selection of different arts and crafts and different markers. And I'm not gonna lie to you, they have a much better selection of coloring books. Like, they have some really cool old school coloring books, you know, like the old school Disney characters. It just seems like they just have a much wider variety for certain things at the dollar store, and everything's a dollar. So that was a big change that Kaidale made, and it worked out for the better because we ended up saving a ton of money by doing that. Okay, so the number 2 area of adjustment that Kaidale made for cutting back on some of his wants and spending less money was that he is also very passionate about obtaining DVDs. He has a certain handful of DVDs that he just really loves, and he would always want me to buy the DVDs, which I would buy off of Amazon and, you know, use. They're not that expensive. But every couple of months, you know, he's kind of hard on the DVDs. He just loves to look at them and take them out of their cases. They would end up getting scratched, as DVDs do. So every couple of months, it seemed like I was restocking his DVD collection, which, you know, again, individually, you know, it might only be $10 for a DVD, but it adds up if you're getting multiple DVDs every couple of months to resupply his collection, I guess you could say. So instead of doing that, what we switched to was we discovered that the public library has a really big selection of DVDs, and Kaidale finds this to be fascinating. He loves going about once a week to the library and browsing the DVD section. And there's 3 or 4 different public libraries in the county that we live. So sometimes we'll even go to different libraries and see what they have in stock. And that's been a really fun, free of charge thing for us to do every once in a blue moon. We like to go look at the DVDs. So we no longer purchase them, we just rent them for free. And since he only has them for about a week at a time, it's not enough time for him to really cause any damage. So you know, we just use them for a few days and return them. No big deal, and it's turned out to, again, save us a lot of money in the long run. Okay, so a third area in Kaidale's life where we have cut back on expenses has been his wardrobe and his shoes in particular. So instead of buying multiple of things, you know, oh, I really like this shirt, I'm gonna get 2 or 3 in different colors. Or, oh, I really like, you know, these running shoes, these Nike shoes or whatever. But you know, he needs 1 pair for if he's wearing like a black shirt, and then he needs another pair for if he's wearing like, you know, different color coded outfits. So I would kind of get him, he'd always have like 2 or 3 shoes at a time so he could mix and match his outfits. And then I just decided, that's silly. We're just gonna get 1 pair of shoes and use it and wear the shoes for 6 months to a year, and whenever they get worn out, we'll throw them out and we'll get a new pair of shoes. So that's kind of what we do now. We just have one pair of shoes each that we wear every day. We have basic, plain clothes, like my basic colored tank tops. Same with him. I'll just get him a couple different colored shirts. We'll mix and match, call it a day. And so I've really cut out a lot of clothes shopping for the both of us. All right, the fourth area that Kaidale has reduced his spending in his little world has been with recycling stuff that we already have. So for example, his backpack and his lunchbox from last year was perfectly fine. So he's using the same backpack and lunchbox this year. It doesn't look worn. I actually ended up getting him last year a Carhartt backpack and lunchbox, and it was a solid black one. And he is perfectly content with that. It appears he doesn't have a strong opinion about reusing the same backpack and lunchbox. So that's what we did. We didn't buy a new back to school backpack and lunchbox. Also, another example of recycling last year's items. We're planning on using the same Halloween costume this year. So Halloween's coming up, and I intentionally bought him his costume last year a little bit on the big side because I knew that we were going to recycle it for this year, and he's happy with that. So I see no need in buying a brand new costume when last year still fits and he's content with it. Okay, so the fifth area of cutting back once in Kaidale's life, and Kaidale cutting back on some expenses, has been that we no longer, or we very rarely do expensive entertainment. So we used to be frequent flyers at the trampoline parks and the go-karts. He loves going to the mall and doing the bungee cords on the trampolines. Like, he loves all that stuff. We kind of got in a bad habit though of like doing it a lot more often than we should, because you know at the time you're like, oh, it's only $10 for like 10 minutes, it's not that big of a deal. But when you do it multiple times a week, which we were getting in that habit of, it definitely adds up. And the trampoline parks are stupid expensive. I mean, it's like $25-30 a person. So we really cut out a lot of that stuff, and we just kind of utilize free entertainment now. So for example, this summer we spent a lot of time at our community pools. Part of the amenities where we live, the neighborhood that we live, is that we have pool access. So there's a couple of different pools to choose from, and we would just go back and forth between those pools this summer, and that's free entertainment. It was so much fun, and Kaidale actually conquered the diving board this year, which was a big deal because he's been going to these pools since he was little, and he's always admired, sat there and watched the other kids on the diving board, and he finally conquered it himself. So we went to the pool like every single day this summer, and he just couldn't get enough of the diving board. And that was something fun, and again, free of charge. We would pack our lunch box and eat lunch there, and save a ton of money by not going to those other expensive places like the trampoline parks. Okay, so a sixth example of where Kaidale's cut back on his wants is that he has learned to make a lot of his little kind of splurgy things at home. For example, he used to love to go to the gas stations or through Sonic and get blue ices. That's like his favorite thing. But my sister actually ended up getting him an icy maker for his birthday last year. So this past year, we've just been making blue ices here at the apartment. Grab some ice out of the freezer, and she got him a big giant tub of blue syrup. So that's one major cost saving. We're not going through the drive-thru or the gas station and spending money on Slurpees anymore. We're just making them here at the condo, and Kaidale actually really loves doing it. I think he gets a sense of independence because he's making his own icy, and it's just a fun little afternoon activity. And along those same lines, the seventh area where Kaidale has cut back tremendously has been with his drive-thru. And the thing with autism is that, you kind of get in those like rigid routines, and you want to do the same things over and over. But honestly, that's human nature. We all do that. That's not just autism. But for Kaidale specifically, he also has a history of being very picky. Very, very picky. And that's something that has taken years to work through, but he's finally much better. But for a long time, the only thing I could get him to eat was like Chick-fil-A chicken nuggets or Zaxby's chicken tenders. So like every other day we were going through the drive-thru because, I'm just want to make sure he eats. And it was just kind of one of those vicious cycles that we got in. I know it sounds silly for those of y'all who maybe aren't familiar with autism. It might sound a little bit ridiculous, but it's picky eating and having like sensory aversions to food and things like that is a big part of autism. A lot of kids have it to some degree or another, and Kaidale was certainly on that spectrum of being very particular about his foods. You know, certain textures, like absolutely not. He's not even going to try it. But we've really spent so much time in therapy just working through that and getting him to try new things, like slowly but surely over time. And so now he does so much better, and he'll eat things that I cook for him at home. He has a list of vegetables that he will eat now, which I never, like I wasn't sure if we would ever get this far with our progress with food acceptance, but we have. So that's one big area of his life that we've cut back tremendously on, is spending money, going through the drive-thru and going out to eat. And now he eats a lot of things that I cook at home. Okay, number 8. This is kind of similar to the entertainment that I was mentioning before with like the trampoline park. But number 8 is going to be that we have really utilized free or affordable alternatives within the community for Kaidale's extracurricular activities. So a couple of examples would be that we have tried Special Olympics twice, which is completely free of charge. So he's done 2 seasons of basketball through the Special Olympics, so that's a big saving area. And also we've done 3 seasons of Field of Dreams baseball, which, you know, technically isn't free, but it's not, there's not a specific price tag. It's kind of just like they'll tell you how much it costs per player, and then it's up to the family, you know, what they want to contribute. I know sports and kids is like this whole crazy thing, and there's travel teams and it gets so expensive, but that is one area of our life that we definitely keep it affordable, and we try to really utilize those community resources for kids with special needs. Okay, last but not least, number 9, and I feel like a little bit silly for saying this because it sounds ridiculous, but we have not gone to Disney. The thing is that we're obsessed with Disney. We live in Florida. We only live a couple hours away from the park, about 2.5 hours away from the park. And we've always off and on had Disney season passes because we get the Florida resident discount, and we can just make day trips. So we would just like pack our food, go down for the day, come back within the same day. And in my head, I justified it for a long time as this is totally affordable. We're not spending money on a hotel. We're not buying food at the parks. Parking is free with the season passes. We get the Florida resident discount. So I justified it for a long time in my head. But then when I decided to go on this debt journey of getting completely debt-free, I realized that that is a big area in Kaidale's life and my life too, because I love Disney. So that's a big area that we cut back on expenses, and we decided no more. We're gonna take a break. Once we get out of debt and we get our emergency fund in place, then we'll consider renewing our season passes. But in the meantime, what I've done to kind of stall and buy myself some time is I bought Kaidale this shadow box, and I put a picture of him in front of his favorite ride at Disney World, which is Space Mountain. Loves that ride. He could ride it 100 times in a row. And I told him that when his money box is full, we can go to Disney. So it's been over a year. It's been about 18 months, and I really feel like I've squeezed it out as long as I can. But he's been patient, and I appreciate that. So, you know, whenever we have some loose change from whatever we're doing, or he does some chores, I'll give him some money and he'll put it in his money box, and he's getting pretty full. We've only got about half an inch left till we hit the top. So I'm gonna hopefully, you know, buy myself a little bit more time until, like I said, we can get through the next phase of our life, which is building the emergency fund, which I'm working on. So once we get through that, I'm gonna take him back to Disney, but that is a big area that, you know, it seems silly because that is totally a big want. It's not a need, but nevertheless, it's an area that we have cut back on and we've quit spending money on. So sorry, Disney, you'll have to survive without us for a little while longer.